Hey guys, how's it going? It's your boy Mr. Almighty Lewis back at you with another video. Alright, so in today's video we're going to be talking about recharging as an introvert and how you need to recharge in solitude in order for your rechargement to be effective. If rechargement is even a word, but you know what I mean. Alright, so if you haven't subscribed, make sure you subscribe. If you haven't hit the notification icon, make sure you hit the notification icon because it really helps. And of course, like this video if by the end of it, if you actually like the video and you learn something from it or you become aware of something new. Anyway, let's go ahead and get started. So, what was the topic? Yo, yeah. Recharge it. So, how do you recharge as an introvert, right? So here's the thing. As introverts, we need to recharge. We need to recharge in solitude. And what I mean by that is that, you know, there's at the beginning, in your life, you're pretty much forced to be out there and be social for the most part, unless of course, you were born under very nice circumstances where you're pretty much allowed to pretty much live the life that you want right from the start. That's not really the case for the most part, and usually you're gonna have to get yourself involved with school, with work, with social gatherings that you really don't have a choice with. That this is probably like prior to you being like an adult, right? You're forced to go to these places and you kind of have to socialize and mingle in order to, like, either it's coming from the wrong place, which is validation, meaning that you're trying to get validation from other people, so that's where you're getting yourself involved in there. Or perhaps, you need something from this other individual, you need to obtain something, and the only way to really do it is to socialize. So who knows, this might be, attracting a girl. You need to go and attract her. There's just no way you're going to be able to attract her if you just sit down there and just stare at her for minutes and hours. Believe me and trust me, I've done that and it doesn't work. So maybe in that situation you're gonna have to be social. Perhaps there's your teacher, maybe at school you need to communicate something with your teacher. You need to let them know that, hey, you know what, I'm not understanding the subject, can you please explain it to me a little bit better. I'm not exactly understanding this particular part of the subject and stuff like that. So you're gonna have to go and you understand the point, right? You're gonna have to socialize out in the world, in order for you to get what you want. Maybe you're at a store and you see a particular product and you're wondering if this product can do a specific thing, that you needed to do. So you gotta go and you gotta ask the customer service rep right there and ask them, if this product actually does what you needed to do. So there's a lot of like social things that you have to do, like I said, for the most part, unless of course, like I said, you're born under really good circumstances, and then you don't really have to do that. Maybe the women just come to you, so you don't have to actually go out there and approach them yourself. Maybe they socialize with you and you're just there, you're just listening, and you just respond to whatever it is that you want to respond to. So there's really no energy drain there because you don't feel the pressure to have to socialize. And this is the thing, out in this world, everything's pretty much socially driven, meaning that you have to socialize if you want to get what you want. And yes, to some degree, this is a very unfortunate truth for introverts because for the most part, we don't enjoy socializing as much, and we pretty much enjoy just being by ourselves and everything for the most part. And so, the reality being that we have to socialize, it's sort of a little bit detrimental, a little bit down-putting, and for most introverts, this can actually backfire to them, because once they realize this truth, what tends to happen is that they pretty much give up on their dreams. Most introverts, they give up on their dreams because they realize that in order to get what they want, they're gonna have to go and socialize, and it's very, very uncomfortable to do it at first. And so getting past that uncomfort at the beginning in order to start getting a little bit better, it's just very hard, especially for an introvert. It's extremely hard, and there's many variables why it's hard. But in this video, I want to focus on one particular, which is the energy drain that comes with that. So here's the thing: introverts are not really necessarily born with the necessary fuel and energy to communicate, to have a conversation. We're not wired to do that. we're not necessarily, meant to do that really at the end of the day, if you really think about it, because introverts are meant to, sort of work in solitude, work in their heads, and really figure stuff out like that. And believe me, introverts are very good at that. They're actually so much more superior in that arena to that of an extrovert. But going back to the point, uh, you see, introverts have this challenge, because now they have to socialize in order to get what they want and really advance in life. And so I think it's very, disappointing at first. I remember when I first realized this truth about having to do this, having to learn this craft. It's like it wasn't the best thing to hear really, because I was like, perhaps I can get everything that I want through silence, and through just tweaking the system in the background. And sure, to some extent that does work, but eventually come to a fine point, a fine line where you can't really cross it, because at that point you're already doing something that you're not supposed to, if you know what I mean here. But I don't want to really get into that, but you know what I mean. So yeah, so you definitely have to be very very careful, as far as like how you go about getting the stuff that you want out of life, and especially as an introvert. So first of all, if you're watching this video and you really haven't had a problem with this, just realize that as an introvert, it will be difficult. If right now you're struggling with communicating with the world, you're struggling to communicate with your friends, with your family, with people around you that you have to socialize with. If you're always like the type of individual who's always struggling to speak up, really, because it's not that introverts don't know what to say, even though sometimes that is the case. We're in the middle of something and it's like they're having that little small talk and stuff, and you're just like, what is this nonsense? you know and so you're just like sort of sitting there, and instead of listening to that small talk, your mind starts sort of like wandering off to something you got to do, some more complicated, more interesting thing, that you could be thinking about and stuff, because the small talk is really just ridiculous and it's pointless, and it really is very it's just whatever, it's very it's just very meaningless, it's very pointless, and it's very like, it has like no sense of direction, no sense of purpose. But anyway, irrelevant to the point here. But yeah, so that's really what introverts have to deal with. We have to deal with yeah. So here's the thing, like, first of all, that's the first step. Just realize that as an introvert, you're gonna have to realize that this is a social world, and you're gonna have to socialize. So that's pretty much truth number one, and accept that. Accept that you're gonna have to socialize. Now, the second thing that you want to do is actually acknowledge the fact that it won't be easy to go out there and communicate. It won't be easy at first. It's gonna feel very uncomfortable. It's gonna feel weird. It's gonna feel like you're not being yourself, and people will tell you that you're not being yourself. They'll be like, "Hey, man, what are you doing? Trying to be social and everything. Like, that's not you, man. Why don't you just stay who you are, man? You're a good person. Just being quiet, just being yourself and everything." Anybody who tells you that, you can very well tell them to fuck off, and really, to like, because that's the worst advice ever. This whole be yourself is the worst advice ever. Worst. 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 I actually talk about this in my book, Stop Taking Bad Advice, which you can find a link down below. You can download that book for free, but just very briefly here, be yourself is a very, very bad advice. And the reason why it's very bad is because it's very constricting. It's an advice that constricts you from actually expanding. If you tell someone to just be themselves, you see, everybody is meant to change and meant to go through phases in life. And all these phases is ultimately it's you. It's always gonna be you. It's never gonna be anybody else. So you're always gonna be yourself. However, you have to understand in what phase you are right now. What are the characteristics? What is your personality at this very second? Because it will change in a few years. It will change. You will become a different person depending on the experiences that you live. You will become a different person by default. All right. There is no person who remains the same for 10 straight years. That's impossible. Impossible, unless of course you lock them up in some, and even then, if you lock them up in some place, they will be different. They won't. Before you lock them in, and after you let them out 10 years later, that person will be completely different, whether they want to change or not. So like it's just how it is. And so being yourself is like, you can't be yourself until you understand yourself, until you understand what phase you are in. So yeah, that's very lazy advice, and it's very just generic. That's why I like to call it in the book. It's just generic advice. And I actually have a video here on my YouTube channel about generic advice, where I go into a rant as to why I believe generic advice just sucks. But anyway, yeah. So like I was saying, people will tell you that you should just be yourself and not communicate and not talk and everything and all this stuff. But like I said, you gotta tell them to fuck off, because here's the thing: we live in a social world. So if you don't socialize, then yes, you will stay in a safe zone. You will be feeling a little bit more comfortable, because you won't be out there putting yourself out there. But at the same time, you will be dying from the inside, and you will be burning, because you know that you would want what's out there. Let's just say, for me, in my experience, it was always a girl. There was always this there was always girls that I used to like, but I couldn't talk to them. I was always like stuck, and I was like, how am I gonna do this? And I couldn't socialize, so I was like, damn, like maybe if I just make myself more present, around them, I just appear, like maybe if they see me more, they'll just feel more attracted. But no, that's not really the case and stuff. You actually gotta go and talk to them. If you don't talk to them, then you're fucked. But this could be for anything else as well. Maybe you're at work, and you want to raise, but you're not saying anything, and you're just working very, very hard. And at the end of the day, like, your boss never gives you that raise and stuff, and you're just there like waiting and waiting. But since you can't really socialize, you can't really step up and go inside your boss's office and tell him straight up, like, hey, you know what? I've been working for this long. I've produced this much. I believe my value of working here is this much. So I would like it if you would give me a raise, and something like that. It doesn't have to be complicated, but yeah, I mean, you have to do something. And like this is what most people don't understand, and when most people give advice, that's another thing that I speak about in my book, is that a lot of people give you advice that's very weak. It's weak advice. It's advice that's very soft. Actually, that's what I meant to say. It's soft advice, meaning that this advice is really meant to just keep you comfortable and keep you in a safe zone where you don't have to put out anything. You don't have to put yourself on the line. And this is wrong. This is very wrong advice, because advice, like I say in that book, is meant for you to actually attain a result. It's in order to fix a problem or improve upon something. If you can't talk to a girl, if you can't ask for a raise, then you have a problem. So that means that when somebody gives you an advice, that advice is supposed to fix that problem. So whatever advice you get for talking to the girl, that advice should get you to talk to the girl. Or in the case of asking for a raise, that advice should get you to actually go and ask for the raise. If that advice is telling you like, yeah, you know what, the girls will just come to you, or oh, at some point your boss is gonna notice how hard you're working, and he'll just give you a raise. That's very detrimental advice. That's not really gonna go anywhere. So like, yeah, that's not advice you want to take, because it's not actually getting to the source. It's not helping you fix or improve anything at that point. You're not fixing the problem of not getting the raise, and well, there's not really much to improve. But sure, you can say that you can improve on your social skills, but you're not going to improve on them either, because the advice is really telling you to just wait and let things just happen. They're not very action driven, and that's another point that I cover in the book. But definitely check out that book if you're interested in this type of stuff. But anyway, going back to the point, yes, you will have to socialize, and it will feel weird. It will feel very weird, actually. It's gonna feel crazy. But here's the thing: it's gonna be one thing to actually go out there and socialize, and it's gonna be another to actually control the amount of energy that you have in order to socialize. So, as an introvert, like I said, communication doesn't come naturally. So, when you start to have conversations, when you start to communicate with the world, you're gonna start draining some of your energy. Some of your emotional energy is gonna start to deplete at that very second, And the more you surround yourself with people, the more your energy is gonna start to, just lower and lower and lower. It's gonna start dropping like crazy. So you have to keep this in mind and really measure this out. Stay very conscious about it, because if not, you're gonna go out there, you're gonna be excited to communicate, to converse, and you're gonna go out there, you're gonna start conversing, and what you're gonna realize is that eventually your energy is gonna deplete, and you're gonna feel really bad, and then you're gonna go home, you're gonna feel like a failure because uh, it's not good that you start to try to force communication once your energy has been completely depleted, because at that point it feels very you just start getting very angry, and you start to get into your head even more, because now your mind is telling you like, hey, you know what, we're in high alert here. You're putting us in a situation that's extremely uncomfortable here, and you're at some point, it almost feels like you're putting your entire life at risk, and as an introvert, yes, that's pretty much how it feels when you're about to communicate with someone, because yeah, you're pretty much putting yourself on the line there. So you have to be aware of your energy. You have to be aware of how much emotional energy you've spent throughout the day, and of course, the way you recover from that is by spending time by yourself. So spend some time in solitude, and that will help you recover. Once you're in a place where it's silence, nobody's bothering you, that's when you start to recover. You start to feel the peace. You start to feel more energized. You start to feel like, you're starting to get back in tune with yourself. As opposed to when you're out there, you're forcing yourself, you're pushing yourself to communicate, because that's the only way to get what you want. If believe me, if there was a way to get what we want in silence without having to say a word, believe me, we would have already been on it. But that's not exactly the case. So, for the most part, like I said, we're gonna have to communicate. We're gonna have to go out there and socialize, and it sucks. Yeah, I know. As an introvert, I'm an introvert, and I've studied communication for about 2 years now, and I've studied the energy cycles and everything. And to this day, I still feel like it sucks. It really does suck. You know, I still wish there's days where I still wish that I didn't have to communicate or say a word in order to, make things happen. And it's like it's crazy. It's crazy, but at the same time, I understand what the reality of things, and so I go and I push myself, to do what I must do in order to make things happen, such as these videos. These videos in of themselves, they're sort of a method of expending energy here, emotional energy, because you see, I'm conversing right now. I'm literally conversing, even though I'm just talking to a camera here, but the thing is that I have to exert some sort of energy here as far as my communication skills. And so after this, I take quite of a break here, because I have to recover in order for me to actually go and talk to real people later on. And so yeah, but just realize that when you're going out there and communicate, you will feel a little bit drained, and this is very normal. This isn't something. Don't panic. Don't get all scared. Don't freak out and stuff, and be like, oh, you know what? Fuck this shit. I don't want to communicate anymore because I feel like shit. And no, don't do that, because, like I said, we live in a very social world, and I would prefer that you go out there and you put yourself in a very uncomfortable situation by trying to converse, because at least when you go and you do that, you have a possibility. You have some sort of a high percentage of actually getting what you want when you're out there. You're conversing, as opposed to just staying locked in whatever place you decide to lock yourself in, and not go out and converse, because at that point, believe me, I know how it feels. It feels very painful to be stuck in a place where you wish you were out there. You wish you had, whatever it is that you want from the outside world. You wish you had that really great, that amazing group of friends. You wish you had that amazing girlfriend. You wish you had all these other things. But uh, yeah, I don't want you to be stuck in a place where you're just thinking and contemplating because it's horrible. It sucks. I know what it's like to be there, and believe me, there's still days where I'm in that place, and because I get so stuck, I get comfortable sometimes just doing stuff on my own here, and just working with my computer and doing getting work done. And sure, I'm getting work done, but at the same time, there's still a couple things that I want to get from the outside world. Now, sure, right now it's it's not the most not the best time to actually. Right now is actually probably the best time for introverts because most things aren't done very socially in person. Most of it is going online right now because of the whole pandemic thing, and so yeah, there's less incentive to communicate in person, but at the same time, there's still instances where you can do that, but like, yeah. So just realize, you're gonna have to recover after your energy's drained, and that's perfectly okay. That's perfectly fine. Just remember, just find your place of solitude, and make sure you keep a healthy balance between your recovery and how much pressure you're putting yourself by going out there and trying to converse with the world. Anyway, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys did, make sure you hit the like button, make sure you subscribe, hit the notification icon, and of course, there's gonna be some videos right here so you guys can learn more about me and my videos. And yeah, so make sure you share my videos as well if you like them. Anyway, in the meantime, I'll see you guys in the next video.